E-commerce store owners, are you trying to scale your Google Ads to the moon? In this case study, I'm going to show you the exact strategy I used to generate my client $2 million in 2 months while maintaining a 5x ROAS. All right, as you can see, for the date ranges of June 27th to September 4th, you see $2.5 million generated in sales overall here. And that's a $1.2 million increase compared to the previous period. 106 sales increase and scaled the budget massively overall here. So in order to get the results for this client, the first thing that was the issue is a lot of the campaigns were essentially limited by budget because of the increasing search impression share that was coming from the seasonality of this particular product, as well as the campaigns being on too low of a budget for what they nearly needed to be. So, in order to profitably scale this client while on their goals, I reviewed the limited by budget on each of the campaigns. So, when reviewing the forecast, you can see how low the ROAS will essentially drop, estimated based on the daily budget change. Typically, when you're doing big budget changes like this, or if they're going to be more frequently, you want them to be around 20%. But if you're taking over and there's a big jump in seasonality and the forecast is somewhere within your range where there won't be too much deviation, I definitely recommend you bump up the budget based on what your profitability should be, how much the cost should be, and how much the ROAS or cost per sale might decrease. That's number one. Also, we want to review in the insights and reports any other demand trends and season that could be possibly coming up. So this will help influence the audience signals that you can introduce into the campaign before you do the budget increase to kind of guide the machine to go in a certain way. So you want to review the insights, see what's limited by budget, and then update the assets, audience signals, and budget accordingly. That's number one. Number two, the second problem was the account at the time essentially didn't have the proper promotional assets being marketed for the seasonality trend. So essentially, the business could be prepared from an inventory level, promotional level that for the stocks they want to do. But if it's not added properly to the account level where it's showing up on search ads or performance max or dynamic search ads properly, this is going to affect the account negatively because people just won't see it. Google won't prioritize it. And essentially, it will just hurt overall performance and cost per clicks. So that was not added properly on the Google asset level. Then on Google Merchant Center, there were also issues regarding the products that it was actually being applied to, the promo being disapproved. So you essentially had to reach out to Google support to get this appealed so that they could be showing on shopping and search effectively during the promotional period, which was done successfully. And of the other aspect, essentially, within asset groups, you want to make sure that if you're following the strategy of essentially having a promotional asset group that you turn on and off, which is something that you can test, you want to make sure those assets are updated properly within the Performance Max campaign. So you can essentially go to whatever asset group that you're essentially testing for that period. Make sure the copy and messaging is more unique based on what you essentially want to run. Try to get images or videos that are more specific to that promo if you can. And you can also segment in a part of the list of people that typically buy promotions or give extra budget so that your promotional funnel is more in sync for you to have the best possible capture of this demand and also show your promotion to as many people as possible. Next, on the branded side, so for branded search campaigns, essentially we want to be able to capture as much intent as possible while being profitable for the overall account. So when I took this over, this is essentially on manual bidding and it wasn't being managed properly for setting bids appropriately. And my thought process whenever going for a manual bidding strategy is essentially if your KPI is to have a certain cost per click, you can definitely go for a manual bid. But if we have a goal of a certain profitability, a certain impression share, or if we want to maximize clicks to a certain degree, these are much better bid strategies that we want to go with. So after discussing this with a client, we decided to essentially switch this from manual bidding to a target ROAS target, and that allowed us to essentially spend more, increase conversion value, as you can see here, and also increase the ROAS essentially. Yeah. So as you can see, this is just branded. So increase the ROAS, increase impression share, increase revenue as well. In remove any wasted spend, click through rate went up as well. Cost per sale dropped drastically, and conversions went up a bunch. So you can see all that from changing some bid strategies and knowing what your goal is, teaching the AI machine learning algorithm what your goals are and doing that accordingly. You can even run experiments for certain things like this, which I recommend, but we really just flipped it over immediately, and that was the results that we really wanted. And speaking of experiments, another thing that we wanted to do that we can to expand this account even more is we want to run experiments for like broad match keywords that can incrementally increase essentially performance in the account and possibly get more spend. And these are things that you always want to be doing. So if you see recommendations within the Google Ads platform of expand to certain broad keywords, these are things that you definitely want to test in scale on this account just to capture any search terms that you might not specifically know that someone's going to search, but they'd be relevant. It's always good to run this as an experiment, the 50-50 split test, to see that if this will give us more or better performance overall. So that was another opportunity of testing more broad match keywords and doing more experiments on that end. Okay, and now last but not least, to truly have the full funnel of this account, we want to have YouTube remarketing to some degree. So the biggest opportunity by far was definitely Performance Max on this account, and we scaled that extremely high, a lot of spend. But what Performance Max tends to do is focus on search and shopping, even if you give it video assets or if it creates video assets. So you often want to test YouTube creative outside of that Performance Max network. So that's what I essentially did. We took a big remarketing list and used branded types of creative to essentially retarget people that have visited or haven't converted, and made sure that we're targeting those people only, and essentially tested videos that performed well on Facebook and imported that over here. Did just general branding and then did other creative in the past that worked well because we weren't utilizing any at all. So this is just easy to get some quick sales at the bottom of the funnel. And you obviously set a target to maximize conversions initially until you, once you get enough conversions to set a TCPA target, that's when you can set a target based on average order value in the account. And then you just multiply that based on what your target ROAS should be. So if you're trying to get a 3x ROAS, you just look at your average order value divided by 3, and then you can set your target CPA based on a cost per sale of there. And that's a very good way to scale from there. Then also at the top of the funnel, you can nurture people that PMax might not go for by testing custom segments of competitors, best performing keywords, these types of things. And there's different strategies of targeting people that have purchased a certain product, you want to upsell them, or if you want to target people that haven't bought in a while, you want to replenish, or if you want to cross sell. These are all different cold strategies, but by far the retargeting is the lowest hanging fruit and what initially got this client better results just to test within there. If you found this case study helpful and you'd like me to personally scale your Google Ads account to the moon, reach out to me for a free one-on-one consultation below.